Nobody saw this coming, not like this. What started as a few icy glances and cryptic social media posts has now exploded into what insiders are calling the most chaotic, jaw-dropping showdown in female rap history. We're talking about two queens, two empires, and one feud that just crossed a line no one thought they'd ever cross. Sources are whispering that things between Cardi B and Nicki Minaj didn't just boil over. They detonated behind closed doors in a way that left even their closest circles shaken. Fans are shocked, industry insiders are scrambling, and those who claim they witnessed what really happened, they say it was pure chaos, screaming, accusations, and a moment that changed everything. But here's where it gets even crazier. This wasn't just about music anymore. No, emotions ran high as deeply personal issues were dragged into the spotlight: family, loyalty, betrayal. Lines were crossed, secrets were exposed, and suddenly, what looked like a rivalry turned into something far more explosive, something dangerously personal. One source claims it wasn't just Cardi versus Nicki, it was everyone around them getting pulled into the storm. Friends chose sides. Teams clashed, and by the end of it, the damage? Irreversible. And just when you think you know the full story, a shocking twist emerges that flips everything upside down. What really happened between these two icons? Who started it, and why are some people saying this fight was planned all along? Stay with us, because this story is messier, louder, and more unbelievable than anything you've heard before. The tension had been building for weeks, but nobody expected it to erupt the way it did that night. Behind the velvet curtains of an exclusive industry party in Los Angeles, where only the biggest names in music were invited, the atmosphere was already thick with whispers. Cardi B walked in surrounded by her crew, her energy loud, confident, unapologetic. Across the room, Nicki Minaj stood like a queen in her own kingdom, composed but visibly aware of every move Cardi made. The air between them felt electric, like a storm waiting to break. People noticed immediately, conversations slowed, phones were subtly lifted. Fans weren't there, but insiders knew something was about to happen. One witness later said it felt like everyone was holding their breath at the same time. It started small, a glance, a smirk. Cardi leaned toward one of her friends and said something under her breath, but it wasn't quiet enough. Nicki's eyes snapped in her direction. That was it, the spark. You got something to say? Nicki's voice cut through the music, sharp and controlled. Cardi didn't hesitate. Yeah, I do. I've had something to say. You just never ready to hear it. And just like that, the room shifted. Emotions ran high as people began backing away, creating a circle without even realizing it. Nobody wanted to miss this, but nobody wanted to be caught in it either. Nicki stepped forward, her expression unreadable but her voice icy. You always talking, but you never got facts. Just noise. Cardi laughed, but there was no humor in it. Noise? Funny, coming from someone who'd been whispering behind my back for years. The word years hung heavy in the air. That wasn't just a jab. That was history. That was everything they'd never said out loud. A few people tried to step in. One manager reached for Cardi's arm. Hey, don't touch me, Cardi snapped, pulling away. This been overdue. Nicki tilted her head slightly, almost amused, but her eyes betrayed something deeper. Anger, maybe even hurt. Overdue? You really think this is about you? Everything you've been doing been about me. Cardi fired back instantly. All them little comments, all them interviews. You think people don't see that? Fans are shocked at what came next, because according to multiple sources, Nicki didn't deny it. Instead, she took a step closer, lowering her voice just enough to make people lean in. You walked into a game you didn't build, she said, and now you acting like you own it. The words hit hard. You could feel it. Cardi's face changed, the confidence flickering for just a second before turning into something more intense. Nah, Cardi said slowly. I earned everything I got. Ain't nobody give me nothing. Not you, not anybody. And that's when things escalated. Voices got louder. Accusations started flying faster than anyone could process. People nearby started recording, even though they knew they probably shouldn't. Because this wasn't just drama anymore. This was history unfolding in real time. You've been trying to tear me down since day one, Cardi shouted. Why? Because I didn't ask for your approval. Nicki's composure cracked just slightly. You don't get it. You never did. This industry. Don't talk to me about the industry. Cardi cut her off. Talk to me about you. That word echoed. You. The room went silent again, but this time it felt heavier. Darker. Someone from Nicki's team stepped forward. This is getting out of hand, but Nicki raised her hand, stopping them. She wasn't backing down. You want to talk about me? Nicki said. Fine, let's talk about how you've been playing victim while stirring everything behind the scenes. Cardi's eyes widened. Me? You calling me fake right now? If the shoe fits, Nicki replied coldly. Gasps rippled through the room. The family was left divided, not by blood, but by loyalty. People started choosing sides without even realizing it. Whispers turned into arguments among the crowd itself. This is crazy, one insider muttered. It's not even about music anymore, and they were right. It wasn't, because suddenly, Cardi brought something up that no one expected. You wanna go there? She said, her voice dropping but somehow becoming even more intense. Let's talk about what you said about my family. Everything froze. Nicki blinked, clearly caught off guard for the first time. What are you talking about? Don't act like you don't know, Cardi shot back. You think I didn't hear about that conversation? You think I don't got people telling me everything? The tension snapped into something sharper. More dangerous. Careful, Nicki warned quietly. But Cardi wasn't stopping. Nah, you be careful. Because once I start talking, I'm not stopping. People started moving again, but this time it wasn't to watch. It was to intervene. Security edged closer. Managers exchanged panicked looks. This was spiraling out of control. And then came the twist no one saw coming. A voice from the crowd shouted, "She's not lying." Everyone turned. It was someone close to Nicki. Someone who wasn't supposed to speak. Someone whose words instantly changed the entire situation. Nicki's head snapped toward them. What did you just say? But the damage was already done. The room erupted into chaos. Questions, accusations, disbelief. Fans would later say this was the exact moment everything changed. Because now, it wasn't just Cardi versus Nicki. It was truth versus secrets. And as Cardi took a slow step forward, locking eyes with Nicki, you could feel it. This was only the beginning. The silence that followed felt suffocating, like the entire room had been pulled underwater at once. Nobody moved, nobody spoke, all eyes were locked on the person who had just broken ranks. Nicki's expression shifted in a way that even her closest friends had never seen before. It wasn't just anger anymore. It was something deeper, something dangerously close to betrayal. Say it again, Nicki demanded, her voice low but trembling with control. The person hesitated, glancing around as if realizing too late what they had just unleashed. I'm just saying, Cardi didn't make that up. The words hit like a shockwave. Fans are shocked because this wasn't supposed to happen. This was supposed to stay behind closed doors. Whatever had been said, whatever had been whispered, it was never meant to come out like this. Cardi's lips slowly curled into a knowing smile, but her eyes stayed sharp. See, I told you, I don't speak unless I know. Nicki took a step forward, her heels echoing against the floor like a countdown. You think this is a game? She snapped, now looking at both Cardi and the person who had spoken out. You really want to play with lies in front of everybody? Lies? Cardi fired back instantly. Then why your own people confirming it? The room erupted again, voices overlapped, emotions ran high as people started arguing, some defending Nicki, others siding with Cardi. The divide was clear now, and it was getting uglier by the second. One of Nicki's longtime friends grabbed her arm. This is messy. We need to go. But Nicki pulled away sharply. No, not until this is cleared up. Cardi laughed again, louder this time. Oh, now you want to clear things up? Where was that energy when you was talking behind my back? Nicki's patience snapped. You don't know half of what you're talking about. Then tell me, Cardi shouted. Say it right now, in front of everybody. There it was. The challenge, the kind of challenge that forces truth into the open, or destroys everything trying to hide it. Nicki stared at her for a long moment, her jaw tightening. For a second, it looked like she might actually say something real. Something that could end this. But instead, she shook her head. You're not worth that. The reaction was immediate. Gasps, murmurs, tension snapping like a wire. Cardi's face hardened instantly. Not worth it? She repeated, her voice dangerously calm now. Nah, don't switch up now. You already started this. You started this, Nicki shot back. Running your mouth like always. I'm speaking facts, Cardi yelled. That's the difference between me and you. Facts? Nicki scoffed. Your facts change depending on who's watching. That line cut deep. You could see it. Cardi took a step closer, closing the distance between them until there was barely any space left. Watch your mouth, she warned. Or what? Nicki challenged, not backing down an inch. And just like that, it felt like the entire situation was about to explode physically, not just verbally. Security moved in closer, forming a subtle barrier, but it wasn't enough to calm the storm. Because then, another twist. A phone screen lit up in someone's hand nearby. Yo, is this what you're talking about? A voice said, loud enough for both of them to hear. Everyone turned again. On the screen, messages. Real messages. The kind that weren't meant to be seen by anyone outside a very small circle. Cardi's eyes locked onto the phone. Yeah, she said slowly. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Nicki's face went pale for just a second, just long enough for people to notice. And that was all it took. The crowd surged closer, trying to see. Whispers turned into chaos again. The family was left divided even more now, because this wasn't just words anymore. This was proof, or at least something that looked like proof. Where did you get that? Nicki demanded, her voice sharper than ever. But the person holding the phone didn't answer. They just looked nervous, like they had stepped into something way bigger than they expected. Cardi folded her arms, watching Nicki carefully. "You real quiet now, because I'm trying not to lose my patience," Nicki snapped. "Too late for that," Cardi replied. Emotions ran high as Nicki suddenly turned to her team. "Who sent that?" she demanded. "Who's been talking?" Nobody answered. And that silence said everything. Nicki looked around, realization creeping in. This wasn't just a confrontation anymore. This was a breakdown of trust, from the inside. "Wow," she said under her breath. "So this is what we doing now?" Cardi tilted her head. "What, you mad your secret's not safe no more? You think this makes you look good?" Nicki fired back. "You think exposing half-truths is gonna win you anything?" "It ain't about winning," Cardi said. "It's about respect, something you never gave me." That word again. Respect. It echoed through the room like a challenge no one could ignore. Nicki laughed, but it sounded forced now. "Respect is earned." "Exactly," Cardi replied. "And I earned mine. You just don't like it." The tension reached a breaking point. Security finally stepped in more aggressively, trying to separate them as their voices rose again. People started shouting over each other. Phones were everywhere now, recording every second. Fans would later say this moment felt unreal, like watching a movie unfold in real time. But for the people in that room, it was all too real. Because as Nicki was being pulled slightly back by her team, she shouted something that made everything stop again. "You really want to talk about family?" she yelled. Cardi froze. The shift was instant. Whatever had been brewing before, this was something else entirely. "Don't," Cardi said quietly, but there was a warning in her voice now. A real one. Nicki's eyes locked onto hers. "No, let's go there. Since you brought it up first." "I said don't," Cardi snapped, louder this time. But it was too late. Nicki stepped forward again, breaking free just enough to get her words out. "You really think your circle is loyal?" she said. "You really think nobody's been playing both sides?" The room went completely still. Cardi blinked, confusion flashing across her face for the first time. "What are you talking about?" Nicki didn't answer right away. She just looked at her, almost like she was deciding how far to take this. And then she said it. A name that nobody expected. A name that hit Cardi like a punch to the chest. "Ask them," Nicki said coldly. Cardi turned slowly, her eyes scanning the crowd until they landed on someone standing just a few feet away. Someone she trusted, someone who suddenly couldn't meet her gaze. And in that moment, everything changed again. The room didn't just go quiet this time, it felt like the air itself disappeared. Cardi stared at the person Nicki had just exposed, her expression frozen somewhere between disbelief and something far more painful. The noise, the chaos, the shouting from moments ago, all of it faded into the background. "Nah," Cardi whispered, shaking her head slowly. "Nah, that's not real." But the person still couldn't look at her. And that silence, it confirmed everything. Fans are shocked because this wasn't just another twist. This was betrayal, the kind that cuts deeper than any public insult ever could. "Look at me," Cardi demanded, her voice cracking slightly for the first time. The person hesitated, then slowly lifted their eyes. And just like that, the truth was written all over their face. Cardi stepped back, like the ground beneath her had shifted. "You too?" she said quietly. "Out of everybody, you?" Nicki didn't interrupt. She just watched, arms folded, letting the moment unfold. Because now, the fight had turned inward. "Say something," Cardi suddenly shouted. "Tell me she lying." The person swallowed hard. I didn't mean for it to get like this." "So it's true?" Cardi cut in, her voice rising again. "You been talking to her? Behind my back?" Emotions ran high as the entire room leaned in, witnessing something far more personal than anyone expected. This wasn't about music anymore. This was about trust being shattered in real time. "It wasn't like that," the person tried to explain. "I was just trying to keep peace." "Peace?" Cardi laughed bitterly. "By running information both ways?" Nicki finally spoke, her tone calm but sharp. "Funny how that works, right? Loyalty until it's convenient." Cardi snapped her head toward Nicki. "Don't act like you ain't part of this." "I never said I wasn't," Nicki replied coolly. "But at least I'm honest about who I am." That line hit hard. The family was left divided more than ever now. People who had been standing confidently just minutes ago were suddenly unsure where to look, where to stand, who to support. Because if this could happen, if someone this close to Cardi could be playing both sides, then who else was? Cardi ran a hand through her hair, pacing now. Wow, this is crazy," she muttered. "All this time, I'm thinking it's just her, and it's really you feeding everything." "I didn't feed everything," the person insisted quickly. "You don't understand the pressure." "Don't talk to me about pressure," Cardi snapped. "You think I don't deal with pressure every day?" The tension kept climbing, but now it felt heavier, more emotional than explosive. Nicki tilted her head slightly, watching carefully. "See, this is what I was trying to tell you," she said. You so busy looking at me like the enemy, you didn't even see what was happening right next to you. Cardi stopped pacing. Slowly, she turned back toward Nicki. Don't twist this, she said, her voice low again but intense. You still got your part in this. Nicki shrugged. I never denied that, and somehow, that honesty made it worse. Because now there was no clear villain. No simple answer, just layers of betrayal, miscommunication, and choices that had led them all here. So what now? Someone in the crowd whispered. It was a question everyone was thinking. Cardi looked back at the person who had betrayed her, her expression unreadable now. How long? She asked. The person hesitated again. It's been a few months. Another hit. You could almost hear the collective gasp ripple through the room. Months, Cardi repeated softly. So every conversation, every plan, you've been running back with it? Not everything, they said quickly. Just some things that felt like they might explode, and look where we are now. Cardi shouted, throwing her hands up. It still exploded. Emotions ran high as tears began to form in her eyes, though she refused to let them fall. This wasn't just anger anymore. This was hurt, real hurt. Nicki watched closely, and for a brief moment, something flickered across her face. Not satisfaction, not exactly, something more complicated, but it was gone as quickly as it appeared. This is why I don't trust easily, Nicki said quietly. Because everybody got a price. Cardi scoffed, wiping her face quickly. Nah, don't bring me into that mindset. Just because you move like that don't mean everybody do. Clearly, Nicki replied, glancing at the person who had just been exposed. The tension shifted again, not louder, but sharper. And then, another unexpected twist. The person who had been caught in the middle suddenly stepped forward. I'm not the only one, they said. The words landed like a bomb. Everyone froze. Cardi's eyes widened. What? Nicki's expression tightened. What are you saying? The person took a deep breath, like they were about to cross a line they couldn't come back from. There's more people involved, they said. This whole situation, it's bigger than just me. The room erupted again. Voices shouting, people denying, others looking nervous. The chaos returned, but now it felt even more dangerous. Who? Cardi demanded. Say their names, but the person hesitated. And that hesitation, it was enough to send suspicion everywhere. People started looking at each other differently now. Whispers turned into accusations. Trust was collapsing across the entire room. This is getting out of control, one manager said, trying to push people back. But it was too late. Because now, nobody trusted anybody. Nicki stepped closer again, her voice cutting through the noise. You better be careful what you say next, she warned. The person looked at her, then at Cardi. It didn't start with me, they said. Cardi shook her head. Then who did it start with? Another pause. Longer this time, heavier. And then, slowly, they pointed. Not at Cardi, not at Nicki, but somewhere else in the crowd. Someone powerful, someone unexpected, and as all eyes turned to that figure, you could feel it. This wasn't just a fight anymore. This was a full-blown collapse of everything behind the scenes. Every head in the room turned at the exact same time. The person being pointed at didn't move at first. They just stood there, frozen under the weight of 100 stares, like they were calculating their next move in real time. This wasn't just someone random. This was someone powerful, someone who had influence over both sides. Cardi's voice came out low, almost disbelieving. Nah, not you too. Nicki's eyes narrowed, her posture stiffening. This just keeps getting better, she muttered under her breath, but there was no amusement in it now. The person finally raised their hands slightly. Everybody needs to calm down. Don't tell us to calm down, Cardi snapped instantly. You've been sitting there this whole time, watching all this unfold, knowing what's really going on. Emotions ran high as the crowd shifted again, creating even more distance around the center of the chaos. Nobody wanted to be caught in whatever was about to happen next. It's not what it looks like, the person insisted. Nicki let out a short laugh, sharp and cold. That's exactly what people say when it's exactly what it looks like. The pressure was building fast now. Explain it then, Cardi demanded. Because right now, it looked like everybody been playing me. The person hesitated, and that hesitation was loud. Fans are shocked because at this point, there were no easy exits left. No way to smooth things over. Every second of silence made things worse. I was trying to control the situation, they finally said. Things were getting out of hand between you two for a long time. I thought if I stayed in the middle, I could manage it. Manage it? Cardi repeated, her voice rising again. By lying? By letting stuff spread? By keeping it from blowing up like this? The person shot back. But that argument didn't land. Because everything had already blown up. Nicki stepped forward slowly, her heels echoing again. So you decided to play both sides, she said. Feed just enough information to keep the tension alive, but not enough to end it. The person didn't answer. And that silence, confirmed more than any words could. The family was left divided beyond repair now. This wasn't just Cardi versus Nicki. This wasn't even about one betrayal anymore. This was a web, a network of people, choices, and secrets that had been building quietly behind the scenes. Cardi shook her head, pacing again, her energy restless, overwhelmed. This is crazy, this is actually crazy, she kept repeating. All this time I thought it was just beef, just music, and it's all been manipulated? That word hit differently. Manipulated. Nicki's expression darkened. You're saying this was intentional? She asked, turning her full attention to the person now. Not like that, they replied quickly. I wasn't trying to create a war, but you didn't stop it either, Nicki cut in. Another silence, another confirmation. Emotions ran high as voices in the crowd started rising again, but now it wasn't cheering or excitement. It was frustration, disbelief, even fear of what this could turn into next. Because if this was all being influenced from behind the scenes, then what was real? Cardi suddenly stopped pacing. Slowly, she turned back toward Nicki. For the first time since this started, there was no shouting. Just tension. So what now? Cardi asked. Nicki looked at her for a long moment. Really looked, like she was seeing her differently for the first time. Now, Nicki said quietly, now we figure out what was real, and what wasn't. The room held its breath again. Because that shift, that small shift in tone, it changed everything. You think we can just figure that out? Cardi asked, her voice still guarded. Nicki shrugged slightly. Either that, or we keep doing exactly what they want. She didn't have to point. Everyone knew who she meant. The person at the center of it all looked increasingly uncomfortable now, the control they thought they had slipping away with every second. Don't twist this into something bigger than it is, they said, but their voice lacked the confidence it had before. Too late, Cardi replied. And for a brief moment, something unexpected happened. Cardi and Nicki stood on the same side of the tension. Not allies, not friends, but not directly attacking each other either. Just aligned against something else. Fans are shocked because nobody saw that coming. You really had us out here going at each other like that, Cardi said, shaking her head. While you just sat back watching it play out? It wasn't like that, the person repeated, but it sounded weaker now. Nicki stepped closer, her voice dropping. You underestimated how far this could go. I thought I could handle it, they admitted. And now you can't, Cardi said. Another silence, heavy, final, and then, the moment that pushed everything over the edge. Someone from the back of the room shouted, this already out online. The entire atmosphere shifted instantly. Phones came out again, screens lit up, people started talking all at once. It's trending, videos already posted, everybody seeing this right now. Panic spread like wildfire. Because now, this wasn't contained anymore. This wasn't private, this was public. Nicki's head snapped toward her team. Who leaked it? Cardi looked around, her chest rising and falling quickly. It don't even matter now, she said. It's out. The person at the center of everything looked like they might actually panic for the first time. This wasn't supposed to go public, they said. But it already had. The damage was done. The story was out of their hands. The world was watching. Emotions ran high as the room descended into complete chaos again, but this time it felt different. Less like a confrontation, more like the aftermath of something irreversible. Cardi looked at Nicki again. You see what this turned into? She said. Nicki nodded slowly. Yeah, I do. Another pause. Another shift. This ain't over, Cardi added. Nicki's gaze stayed locked on hers. No, she agreed. It's not. And as the noise around them grew louder, as the phones kept recording, as the story spread beyond those walls in real time, one thing became clear to everyone watching. This wasn't the end of the fight. This was just the beginning of something even bigger. And just like that, what started as whispers behind closed doors has turned into a full-blown storm that nobody can control anymore. Alliances shattered, secrets exposed, and a rivalry that may never be the same again. Fans are shocked, emotions ran high, and the fallout? It's still unfolding right in front of our eyes. The biggest question now is, what happens next? Will Cardi B and Nicki Minaj ever come back from this? Or has this drama pushed things too far, beyond repair? And what about the people behind the scenes, the ones pulling strings, the ones who turned tension into total chaos? Will they finally be exposed, or will they disappear before the truth fully comes out? One thing is certain, this story is far from over. Now we want to hear from you. Whose side are you on? Do you think Cardi was right to speak out, or did Nicki have every reason to fire back? And what about that shocking betrayal? Was it justified, or completely unforgivable? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now because this conversation is just getting started. And if you don't want to miss the next twist, the next reveal, or the next explosive update in this ongoing drama, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you stay ahead of every headline. Because trust us, the next chapter of this story might be even crazier than what you just witnessed.